Okay, we are back. UTMB 2025 pre-race interview with the legendary endurance athlete, Heather Jackson. Heather, thanks for coming into the studio.
Hey, Devo. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I was like,
how are you feeling ahead of your first UTMB? This can be something that can cause a little intimidation.
No, honestly, this was the race I was literally most excited for the whole year. So I'm just excited. To me, it's going to be a big adventure. I have no idea what to expect.
That's a big statement with the Traca, with Unbound, Western States. It was UTMB that you were most excited for.
Yeah, honestly, I had a tough go at Western States, another trip and fall that I did myself. But my first concern was how bad is this? Because I was so worried about having to miss this one. So not that I did, I was obviously very gutted about a tough day at Western States, but this was the race. I've never done it, and it'll be the longest thing I've ever done. It's got the night. I've never run through the night.
It'll be longer than Unbound XL by time, for
time-wise, longer. Yeah. I honestly kind of did Unbound XL to get a night experience for this. So,
perfect. So it's the classic Heather Jackson non-traditional approach. But one thing that you have done that maybe is traditional is you've taken the sensible progression, OCC, CCC, now UTMB. Just remind the audience about your two experiences here and how they've led to you participating in the big race this weekend.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I came over for OCC, and it was more, I actually was coming over with Hoka for a film project that they were doing. And because I was able to come, it was like, oh, I guess I'll just try OCC. It wasn't even a race originally on my calendar, but I hopped in, and it was definitely eye-opening. Year one of not much technical running. I think I got passed by 10 people on that final descent from La Flagère. So it was just great. Yeah, it was eye-opening in the sense of this event is amazing. Kona times 100. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to come back, and having had a rough go at Western States that first year, I had Western States as the big goal last year, but wanted to come to CCC just as a preview for stepping up to the full this year. So did CCC last year as kind of a second warm up, and I had been putting in more time in the mountains and I was just so ecstatic last year. I ended up fifth at CCC, and to me,
amazing performance.
Thank you. Yeah. For me, it was amazing because it was I had seen progress of both the hiking type running and some of the descending, and just loved it. That was probably one of my top experiences last year. Yeah. And so that made it so much more, just excited to come for the full loop.
Share a little bit about developing the mountain skills, because obviously everybody will know that, competition is something that comes naturally to you. You've been doing it professionally for a couple decades at this point, but that was a clear thing where you needed to improve in order to compete in these types of races, whereas something like Javelina or Western States is not as much of a learning curve. Share a little bit about the things that you did to help develop those mountain skills that put you in the position to be in the top 5 at CCC last year.
Yeah, I think it was just I've never spent time in the mountains, really. Honestly, I grew up, played soccer and ice hockey. I was in rinks and on fields, and played hockey through college, then did triathlon. You're on flat paved roads. And it was just, all the mountain talks, people who grew up in the mountains and know all the mountain etiquette. I remember going out to Leadville early for the mountain bike, and we would leave for rides at noon, and then these afternoon storms would roll in the high country, and everyone's like, you don't go out in the afternoon. You need to get up and get out, because you get caught up high, just basic mountain knowledge. And so it's been this okay, I need to, just learn what I can from all the people around me. And I put work in last year for CCC just on literally one run, because it was all I knew. And it was in there's Mount Bachelor in Bend, and there's a mountain across from it called Tumalo Mountain. And I would just go back and forth. And that was all I did last summer, because I didn't really know much more than that. And this summer I've actually, in Bend, you have to get wilderness permits. And I would get up every morning at 7 a.m., wait for those permits to be released, and where can I go today? And have been up in the higher mountains. Yeah. So it's just that progression of having the time now focused in on this versus triathlon. You're like, I got to get to the pool. I got to get back. I got to get on my bike. Like I've put in the block of, okay, I'm going up to South Sister today. Like, and just learning, hiking, trying to put the time in really. Cause I don't have that time in that experience gives you, the knowledge that practicing gives you. Nobody's
passing you on that descent from La Flagère this week. Which is funny because like for the viewers and listeners, it is like it's a sting in the tail, as they say, right? It's like probably one of the most technical moments of the entire race when you just want to turn your brain off and enjoy the last 10K.
I appreciate you saying that because I'm like, do people think this is technical? Like, please tell me.
Yeah, that descent from the Flagère is a lot harder than certainly it looks on the elevation profile until you hit La Floria and then it's smooth sailing all the way into the finish line. So I have to ask you about the European gravel scene too, because like this is one of the things that's so fun about your story. And you were just mentioning how you came over and raced the Traca in the spring. I think you were 4th, a big result. So, and like gravel is obviously exploding in the US. Is the same thing happening in Europe? Is there anything fun to talk about here? I mean, obviously we're here to talk mostly about UTMB, but I'm just, your story is so interesting. And I think this is part of it. Not only like actually your race at the Traca, but more generally, like what the scene is like in the sport as it compares to North America and Europe.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think it is definitely exploding over here in the sense that it's growing closer to kind of the US type gravel, which you have the long kind of epic gravel adventures in the US, like an Unbound or like some of these races where it is the longer style, because in Europe, originally a lot of the gravel racing, it was UCI or is UCI based. They have a very deep like UCI, which is different. It's different style. It's almost like road racing, but with some gravel sections in it, like a Paris-Roubaix style versus say these longer epic, like a Traca. I think that is growing. The Gravel Earth Series is really blowing up right now. I think Lifetime Grand Prix is still really big, but I think a lot of riders are looking at all the races that the Gravel Earth Series offers.
Is that like a global series?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's really, really growing. They're kind of overtaking some of the these other races that don't fit into that, say, Grand Prix style. It's like they took over, for instance, the Oregon Trail gravel stage race, Rebecca's Private Idaho, some of these bigger ones in the US, and then all under one umbrella. You can earn points for the grand final, which is the grand finals here in like a month. And originally we were like, should we like plan a long trip and stay and do the final over here, which is also near Girona area. But couldn't bring the puppies over. So
you got to get home for the dogs. Cool. Well, thanks for entertaining me there. So your season so far, you were 14th at Black Canyon, 4th at the Canyons 50K. You just mentioned DNF at Western States, and you won the Y-East Trail Fest 50K a few weeks ago. It was part of the mountain training here, building to UTMB. How are you feeling about your season so far? It feels like, sort of some highs and some lows. How do you feel about it in context? And is there anything specific that sort of like helped set you up for UTMB this weekend?
Yeah, my season, obviously not what I would ideally have results wise, but I think, and like lessons, just a couple head shakers where I'm like, once again, Black Canyon, like a big blow up. And I don't know, for me, it's like February is early, coming off winter. And it's like, I don't know, this year I was like, once again, I should not have raced, not like a rookie, but like just rookie mistakes, fueling, some hydration stuff. I should have been hydrating more, just little things. It is a nice eye opener for the season. Canyons, I was super happy with. I think I was up there. I went out hard, kind of faded a little bit. I actually thought the direction they ran canyons this year was way harder. Really? The descending at the end versus like we climbed that the year before. But yeah, it was a solid day against a crazy field. I think all the women there, it was just like some of the best 50K runners. So for me, it was solid day, literally in between two gravel races. So I had a triple weekend in a row. So that probably wasn't ideal. But for me, the big goals were Unbound, Western States, and UTMB. So it was like, okay, this has been a great month of training with races, part of that. Unbound, obviously stoked with, but then Western States, I still am just kind of speechless of like what happened, because it was literally the dumbest trip and fall.
Tell me about it. It was your calf, right?
Yeah. I was just descending like what I thought was very smoothly, like that got through the whole upper part after the escarpment very smoothly. Best I ever have. And it's that part after that aid station at the top where you descend down into like a water crossing before the climb to Robinson.
Duncan Canyon.
So after Duncan Canyon, it's like a flowy kind of, and there's not much there. There is some like rocky bits, but I was running with Hannah Allgood. We were chit-chatting up there, like not over my head, and just tripped. And I landed on a rock and it kind of slid out from underneath my foot. And I stood up and my calf was super tight. And I was like, ooh, it kind of felt like a Charlie horse. But I was like, it'll loosen. It's fine. It wasn't like a singeing pain or something had pulled then it just progressively got tighter. And I was still with Hannah, like right through the water. And then the second I started climbing, any like pushing off, it was just seizing like tighter and tighter. And I was like, oh my God, I've never had anything like that. Made my way to Robinson, told my crew, like, I'm not panicked, but something's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
And left Robinson, got out of there. Fujao was coming through and everyone's like, hop on her wheel. Like she'll bring positive energy. And I was able to stay behind her somehow because she is an incredible, just like, all the way till that first heading down into the canyons.
From Last Chance, yeah.
So that was probably my highlight, was getting to run with Fujao and see her in action. Just an incredible runner. But the second I started ascending, it was in pain, and then climbing up out of the canyons was just, I couldn't even toe off anymore. And I thought that I had torn something or it was serious damage, and it was a bad strain, but like not what it felt like in the moment. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those, like, I got to Michigan Bluff, and fortunately one of my crew members, Collier Lawrence, good friend, used to train with her in triathlon, and she's a doctor and could diagnose. And I was like, is this, like, have I done everything is this done? Like, I've done the worst I can. And she's like, well, no, like, if you keep going, you could make it worse if it's not necessarily torn and so that was part of the, like, I could barely walk at that point, but in my mind, like, is this my season? Yeah. And it was one of those, everything weighing on you. And I think if I hadn't finished Western States the year before and gotten a buckle, I maybe would have like tried to wait it out and like walk it in. And I had some friends that were barely making each cutoff. So I was like, oh, maybe I could like just walk it in and like get to that finish. But honestly, this race was like, I wanted to be here. Yeah. And it's that, I mean,
it's interesting. And thanks for sharing. But it, like, one thing that Tim Tollefson said yesterday that maybe would be fun to talk about is, like, sometimes people who have bad races at Western States, whether they drop out or just underperform, come here and feel like, okay, I need to have a good one here. And then ultimately it gets away from them again. You having such a long history of being a professional athlete and racing at the volume you have over the course of your career, you've probably developed a skill of, like, how to bounce back, not only physically with your injury, which you can comment on, but also, like, you know, not losing the faith and confidence in yourself that you can have a dream race at UTMB. Maybe talk about bouncing back both physically and mentally coming into the race.
Yeah, totally. I think that is a huge thing, because you put that pressure on yourself. I can't screw this one up again. Like, just had a bad one. But I think for me, it's like, I've had this numerous times in my career. Honestly, it's like, I had gotten in Kona, I got 5th, 3rd, 4th. And I was like, this is the year. 2018 did everything, like swimming 40K a week, because that was my biggest week, like everything. And I showed up and it was my worst Kona ever. I walked the marathon because I was just so spent, and went back to Tucson. I had 3 weeks to Ironman Arizona, which was going to be kind of redemption, but it was more just so I could qualify for the next year, because I was so focused on Kona. Went to Ironman Arizona, and it was like, again, that mentality you're talking about, that question of like, I can't screw this one up. It was like, I ended up going the fastest Ironman I ever won in my whole career off of like, not that I didn't care about it, but it was like that mentality of, like not approaching it as don't screw this up, but like, this is an opportunity, like not to redeem myself, but to, you're given another chance. And it's a little bit different, that comparison, but it's like bouncing back from tough days and using that as like, you have another opportunity, that not everyone gets another shot at something. And for me, this is like, that could have been my season, or maybe I didn't have another goal after Western States that was as motivating. And I feel lucky to have this that like got me into rehab every day. Like I was working with my PT, a big shout out to Jay DeChari. He was seeing me at his house every day just to like try to make this a possibility.
You just posted about him, didn't you? Saying something like you had only had a couple of injuries in your entire athletic career. 2
at Western States. One other one. And every time like he is a he does so much, and for him to fit me into his schedule, but it's like, I don't know that sorry, this is very roundabout, but back to your question of like, I don't feel that pressure of like, I have to redeem myself. It's like, this is just another chance that like, maybe I went into Western States with too much pressure on myself, not on myself, but like I had done it before. I thought I could improve on the year prior. This one, it's like, it's an open slate.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Take it in. This is an opportunity, a chance, not like, that like gung ho, like.
Okay. Well, that makes me want to ask you about, your approach to the race, because this is like going to be new territory for you in a lot of ways. You've done 100 milers before, but this is your first like proper mountain 100, and they've even extended it this year. It's like 110 miles basically. And like when you came into the sport, like it was the talk of the town. Heather goes from the front. She goes from the gun. Like you're going to need to, try and catch up later. This is a type of race that demands a little bit of patience. So I'd love to ask you kind of how you've been thinking about things, how you might approach things strategically to the extent you'd like to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're completely right. Like this, even thinking, I hope this doesn't come off cocky, but I don't get intimidated a lot by things. And I am intimidated by this. Yeah. So like, this does make me take pause and be like, okay, you cannot go out too hard, because and I think the fact that I've never done something in that, whatever it is, 24-hour range, or that the longest thing I've ever done, it was the same with Unbound. I was very not intimidated by Unbound, the bike riding itself. It was like the time length and through the night. The through the night really scares me. Yeah. I have like 3 or 4 lights ready. I'm just like, what am I? Because the only night running I've done is like the last hour of Western States and maybe Javelina, which is, pretty smooth. And you've already done 4 times of it. It. So this is like, I'm intimidated, and it does deserve respect. And it's one of those, I want to do this whole loop. Like, I don't want to take myself out again because I'm trying to, go above and beyond my skill. So,
have you done anything to account for the night component in training? Because it was something we talked about with Hayden Hawks earlier this week. He did a couple like big night runs out of the course. I saw him do that. And like it can be spooky the first time, right? The good thing about UTMB is that there's going to be people around the whole time. So like, you're not going to feel like totally alone out in the Italian Alps, but it does, you have to have systems, you have to be prepared, you have to know where to pick up the lights, where to have extra batteries and things like that. Did you practice for that at all, or did you put specific thought into it?
No.
Okay. Just have a lot of lights. Okay.
I do have the light experience from Unbound because, one of the lights I used was not ideal. It died in the night, and I didn't have a spare battery. I was like, oh shit. I was able to latch onto a guy who had a light going, but I was out. So I actually have like 4 spare batteries. and for lights, I do need to sit down and kind of look at, where to plug those in.
I've just noticed a few people this year have specifically done intentional long night runs. And I think it's just part of this trend of just like finding the little 1%ers,
Totally. I did message, I saw Hayden do those runs and I messaged Hayden and I was like, oh my God, good work. Like any tips you can think of? And he was like, it's dark out there. He's like, I need 2 lights. He was like, I'm wearing a waist one as well as the head one.
Yeah. The good news is, and I'm sure this will jinx it, but usually on the Italian side where it'll be dark for you guys, it's usually better weather there. So even if it's rainy on this side of the mountain, it's usually more stable on that side. So hopefully it'll be a dry night, because if it's wet, that's when I think it gets a little bit more complicated. But
it is showing rain, I think.
See, I already joked.
It already was showing it though.
Did you check in Courmayeur? That's the real truth.
Oh, okay, no, I didn't see that.
We'll look at it afterwards. Well, I'll let you go, but I'd love to also hear, because I can't resist the temptation. I'm sure this isn't the last thing you're doing this season. Are you going to be doing kind of the last half of Lifetime? Are you going to do Big Sugar, Little Sugar, that kind of stuff?
I definitely need to figure out. I may be at Big Sugar just because everyone's there. It's kind of the big finale race wise, but I'm actually looking at like a big bike project potentially in November that I would take on, kind of moving on the gravel side, maybe towards something like that. Cool. End of this year, if not a couple next year. But yeah, I need to sit down and figure out what kind of the off-season rest period into prep looks like leading into next spring, since I'm taking on the next even longer adventure.
Oh, right. You're signing up for Cocodona, aren't you? Oh my God. All right, we can wrap it up there, because obviously right now the focus is on UTMB, but Heather, it's always so fun to chat with you, and you're going to be one of the athletes that I add to my like personal tracker list at live.utmb.world, and I'll be following you throughout the race, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Cheers.